It's recap time. 3, 2. Hey, quick interruption, Future Chip here. If you're coming from the previous video and you already know the drill, you can skip directly to the recap. Otherwise, if this is your first time, I'll let you with the intro and enjoy the episode. 1. Hello everybody and welcome to the Shower Podcast, the podcast where I'm in my shower and you do you. I'm your host Chip and this is not my usual intro. This is a bit of a special episode. Unfortunately, I will be away for a few days and I found out this interesting way of filling the gaps with recaps from previous episodes. If this is your first time here, use it as an opportunity to find topics that you might be interested in and go back to listen to the original ones. If you are a usual listener of the Shower Podcast, well, again, this might be a rehearsal of topics that you might be interested in. Otherwise, I understand if you want to wait for me to be back. But in the meanwhile, the podcast needs to continue and we need to reach day 365. Having said that, I will not keep you longer. Thank you very much for listening. As always, a like and a subscribe. They are always welcome. And now, recap time.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Hello.
Today, we're shaking things up a little bit, doing something different.
Yeah, should be fun. Our friend Chip, who does the showerpodcast, he shared 5 of his recent deep dives with us.
Exactly. And we thought, it'd be cool to give you a kind of condensed tour. If you missed them or just want the highlights.
Consider it your express pass-through Chip's recent brainwaves. We'll hit the main ideas, some key takeaways, maybe a few interesting bits along the way.
And of course, if any of these really grab you, you can always go listen to Chip's original full episode.
Definitely recommended.
Okay, so let's jump in. First up, episode 94, Builders versus Fixers.
Ah, yes, this one.
He kicks it off with something I think super relatable for anyone who makes stuff, just the inertia of hitting record.
Totally. He mentions that even after nearly 100 episodes, it's still a bit of a hurdle. He actually uses the podcast partly for accountability.
Which is smart. But the core idea is this difference he sees between builders, people who create systems, and fixers, who solve problems within those systems.
Right, and how AI is changing that whole dynamic.
So how does he break down that difference?
Well, he paints fixers as, task-oriented. They solve the problem you put in front of them. Historically, that took a lot of knowledge, critical thinking.
Okay, and the builders?
Builders are maybe more experienced. They design the platforms, the environments for the fixers. They set things up.
Gotcha, but then AI comes along.
And this is the twist. Chip suggests AI tools can make it way easier for builders to also fix things quickly. So maybe less need for dedicated fixers.
Ah, so the effort shifts. More towards building, less towards fixing.
Potentially, yeah. Which leads to his big question.
Let me guess. How do you actually become a builder?
Exactly. If AI handles a lot of the basic fixing, where do inexperienced people get the grounding, the experience they need to eventually build things themselves?
It's like you need the fixing experience to become a good builder, but if the fixing is automated, then what?
Right. Chip seemed genuinely concerned about finding learning environments for newcomers in that kind of future.
Does he offer any potential outcomes?
He muses a bit about skills maybe getting redistributed, like maybe some basic chores AI can't do become more valuable. Mostly, it's about the need to think ahead, plan for these shifts.
And knowing Chip, I bet he asked his listeners for their thoughts.
Yep, especially his engineer friends. He wanted their take in the comments.
Okay, cool concept. Let's move to the next one, episode 95. I want to win.
Right. This one shifts gears completely. It's about mentality, competition.
And he apparently had a side note about thumbnails. Still figuring those out.
Yeah. The eternal creator struggle. Finding consistency with the tools. But the main spark for this episode was a quote he heard.
What was it?
Something about new U.S. tariffs. The quote was like, how can you expect to be a leader or to be winning in a world where everybody wants to win?
Ooh, that's interesting. Because it's true, right? If everyone has to be number one, then by definition, most people have to lose. It's unsustainable. He questions this whole gotta win culture.
Yeah, the pressure, the idea that coming in second is somehow failing. It's a negative vibe. Chip suggests focusing more on, cooperation. The idea that collective happiness is possible even if not everyone is the official winner.
He must have had examples.
Yeah, like relationships, you can't always win an argument and expect things to go well. Or international relations, where tariffs might seem like winning but trigger losing counteractions.
Makes sense.
He also shared a neat anecdote about an American student studying in Rome.
Oh,
Yeah, the student was just really surprised by how supportive the other students were. Not the cutthroat competition they expected, a different vibe.
It shows how much culture plays into it.
Definitely. And Chip adds a nuance.
Yeah.
It's okay to want to be the best at something specific. That's fine.
But not everywhere.
Right. The problem is when that me against you, zero-sum game thinking takes over everything. He finds it miserable, unsustainable.
And the funny part is, he admitted procrastinating on this very episode.
Because he was trying too hard to win at making the thumbnail for it.
Classic.
Oh.
Okay, episode 96. Right thing, wrong time.
Yeah, this one tackles that frustration when you do good work, but it just doesn't land, the timing's off.
What prompted this one?
Actually, a nice message from a listener encouraging him about his content on YouTube and Spotify. It got him thinking about failure.
How so?
Like, maybe failure isn't the right word if your goal wasn't immediate mass appeal in the first place. If you didn't hit metrics you weren't even aiming for, did you really do something wrong?
That's a good point. He used examples.
The classics, Van Gogh, totally unappreciated in his lifetime. Or even the first iPhone, it wasn't an instant universal smash hit.
Took a while for people to get it.
Exactly. So the timing wasn't quite right. It highlights the idea that impact isn't always immediate.
So what's the alternative focus then?
He talks about intrinsic value, doing things because they mean something to you personally. That's what keeps you going when nobody's clapping yet.
But he still acknowledges timing matters.
Ooh, for sure.
Good,
Sometimes
yeah.
you need both, the right thing and the right time for external success. But he also notes something interesting, that often the really good stuff that happens isn't from chasing some specific outcome directly. It's more like a side effect of consistently doing what feels right.
Trusting the process.
Pretty much. His advice was basically focus on doing the right thing for you. The right time might just show up later.
And let me guess, thumbnails were mentioned.
You know it. Still taking up time.
All right, next up, episode 97. This one's got a clicky title. Does Elon know better?
Yeah, this dives into the Tesla self-driving tech debate, specifically Musk's insistence on using only video cameras.
Unlike others using LiDAR.
Exactly. And Chip mentions recording this one right after work, not in the shower, because of time. And maybe his hair wasn't cooperating.
Happens to the best of us.
He was also getting excited about hitting episode 100 and put in a plug for subscriptions and reviews. Standard podcast stuff.
So the core of it was Musk versus LiDAR. Did he reference that Mark Rober video?
He did. The one where Robert sets up those almost cartoonish obstacle courses. And the Tesla sometimes, didn't see them.
Right, I remember that. It was pretty compelling.
So Chip breaks down the tech difference. Tesla's cameras versus LiDAR, which he explains uses light pulses to build a 3D map. Kind of like Face ID on an iPhone, was his analogy.
Okay, clear enough. So what's Musk's reasoning for sticking only with cameras?
As Chip presents it, Musk's argument is basically, humans drive using eyes, vision, so we should train AI the same way, using cameras that mimic eyes.
But Chip pushes back on that.
Yeah, he finds that logic flawed. He points to the robber video evidence like the car not seeing a plain wall and says, well, clearly, human vision isn't all that's needed, or the system isn't mimicking it well enough yet.
So does Chip speculate on why Musk might stick to this stance if the logic seems shaky?
He throws out a few possibilities. Maybe it helps make Tesla seem special, unique for sales. Maybe cameras are just cheaper than LiDAR systems.
That makes sense.
Or maybe it's about the long-term vision aiming for full autonomy that perfectly mimics human perception, even if it's harder now.
He also mentioned the accident statistics comparison.
Right. He cautioned against the simple Tesla has fewer accidents claim because the driving conditions and scenarios are often really different compared to average human driving stats. It's not apples to apples.
So what's the big takeaway from this one?
It's actually pretty broad. Chip suggests that when powerful people say things that seem, illogical on the surface, don't just dismiss it. Try to figure out the underlying reasons, the motivations.
Could be strategy, could be cost, could be a long-term bet.
Exactly. Looking for those hidden reasons can be a really valuable learning exercise.
And any mention of thumbnails.
Briefly, he said he was still enjoying the process, actually.
Right.
Though maybe finding reels less rewarding for the effort.
Okay, last one. Episode 98. Why can't I stop?
The procrastination deep dive. Very relatable.
He framed this one differently, didn't he? More questions than answers.
Yeah, he gave a disclaimer up front. It was more him thinking aloud about why we sometimes avoid tasks by doing other less demanding tasks.
Did he say he was in a funk?
He mentioned he'd been in that kind of cycle before recording, but was feeling more organized when he actually hit record. He described the pattern. putting off stuff that isn't super urgent or hard, just later.
But he's reliable when it counts.
That's what he said. Deadlines, external pressure, like the podcast, he meets those. The struggle is the self-directed stuff.
And that's where the alternate tasks come in.
Right. The classic procrastination move, suddenly feeling the urge to clean, organize, or in his case, fiddle with thumbnails or do podcast research.
Just the main thing you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly. He called it the problem of fake good labels. The tasks aren't bad in themselves, but they become distractions.
Does he see a downside to that pattern?
Yeah, he talked about potential downward spiral. Avoiding the important stuff can actually sap your overall motivation, make you less willing to tackle anything, even easy things eventually.
It sounds familiar.
He definitely values external accountability. The podcast helps him stay reliable. And he noted how working from home makes self-discipline even more crucial without those built-in office structures.
So it's about keeping momentum.
Kind of, yeah. Keeping your general willingness to do stuff level high enough so that simple tasks don't feel overwhelming. He also found just talking about it, articulating the thoughts, was helpful for understanding it better himself.
And he was looking forward to episode 100.
Yep. And apologized for some subtitle glitches in the previous episode. Very conscientious.
Okay, wow. That was quite a tour through Chip's recent thinking.
Yeah, a lot of ground covered. From AI and work to competition, timing, tech controversies, and procrastination.
So there you have it, a quick run through 5 episodes from Chip's Shower Podcast. Hopefully it gave you some interesting things to chew on.
Maybe spark some recognition, too. These are pretty universal themes he's wrestling with.
Absolutely. And like we said, if any of these deep dives particularly caught your interest, definitely go check out the original episodes. Chip's got a great delivery.
For sure. Well, thanks for joining us for this rapid-fire recap today. We appreciate you diving deep with us.
See you tomorrow.